it's exactly what he wants in Ukraine. He wants to take the territory, and then everybody say there should be a ceasefire in place, and that's what he's saying about Israel as well. Okay, Hamas, they killed a lot of people in their terrorist attacks. Now Israel should stand down. This is a mirror image of his own positioning.
Let's get a Washington insider's perspective on President Biden's visit with Kurt Volker, a former US ambassador to NATO. Kurt, welcome to the program. Um, just can you sort of lay out for me what President Biden wants to achieve here and how difficult his mission will have been made by this blast last night?
Yeah, well, incredibly difficult, and let's state up front that it's a terrible tragedy. What happened, and the victims of that explosion, however it happened, is absolutely horrific. Um, President Biden has a complicated task because he needs to do two things at the same time that may seem contradictory. One of them is to provide reassurance to Israel that the United States is fully behind Israel, supports its security, condemns the terrorist attacks that took place, will not allow Israel to be the victim of aggression like this in the future, and will do everything to help Israel reestablish security. But the other side is that he wants to prevent this conflict from widening to becoming a regional war that involves Hezbollah attacking from Lebanon, Israel responding to Hezbollah, perhaps even direct engagement with Iran. He wants to prevent that kind of regional escalation of the war, which means trying to urge some restraint on Israel, which of course is exactly the opposite of what Israel wants to hear right now, because I think Israel has concluded that as long as Hamas is running the show in Gaza, there is no security.
Indeed, and Kurt, what sort of leverage does he have to achieve the aims that you lay out so clearly there?
Well, not much, to be honest. I think Israel has made the conclusion that it needs to act on its own for its own security. It does not see a future with Hamas in Gaza. And at the same time, I think the others in the region are watching. And if they see that Israel is acting too aggressively, if they are concerned about a massive loss of life, or if they feel that by opening another front against Israel, they can distract Israel and weaken it, they may do so. And if you look at both Hezbollah and Iran, I think that they were behind this attack to begin with, and they are probably fully prepared to engage if they feel the time is right. The most important deterrent against that kind of regional escalation is going to be Israel's own capability, whether it seems that they are swiftly and methodically able to move in Gaza the way they say they will, and whether the U.S. would actually engage directly against Hezbollah or Iran if they were to fight against Israel. So far, that is not something that the U.S. administration has put on the table.
Just finally, Kurt, and briefly, if you would, Russia's President Putin has today called the hospital blast a signal to stop the fighting. What do you make of Putin's positioning in this conflict?
Well, it's exactly what he wants in Ukraine. He wants to take the territory, and then everybody say there should be a ceasefire in place, and that's what he's saying about Israel as well. Okay, Hamas, they killed a lot of people in their terrorist attacks. Now Israel should stand down. This is a mirror image of his own positioning. He's also chosen that he wants to side more with Iran and with the Palestinians on this rather than with Israel. This is a
Which,
shift
which
in
means he's
Russia's
also
position.
siding in a way with China, no?
China has been much more restrained here. They have said very little. They have done very little. I think they look at this as not their issue. And I think China, as always, China is taking a much more strategic and longer term view.
Kurt Volker, former US ambassador to NATO, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.